4 years ago, I did a major hike through the Wind River Range in Wyoming, mostly along the CDT. However, there were so many wonderful places to visit, I had to skip a few, and ever since I've been wanting to return and check out some of the awesome sights that I missed. This 45-mile loop was my opportunity to correct those deficits, especially taking time to explore the famous Titcomb Basin, one of the most visited highlights of the entire Wind River Range. The only potential problem with this trip would come near the end, when I would have to take my chances with an abandoned trail in order to close the loop. After a marathon 11-hour drive, I got started at Elkhart trailhead at 5 o'clock. Elkhart is at 9,400 feet, and I expected the trail to drop elevation sharply since there's a major climb at the end of this loop back up to Elkhart. Instead, there was an elevation gain of over 800 feet the first few miles to Photographer's Point. Not really what you want to be doing after such a long drive. I've read about there being a major wind event a year or two ago. So they're here. You really can tell the damage when you hike through it. And kudos to the trail crew for cleaning up this mess. Can't imagine how much work that was. By luck, rather than planning, the late start put me at the renowned viewpoint of Photographer's Point just when the lighting was perfect. I camped at Eklund Lake at 10,200 feet, just under 6 miles from the trailhead and just the right distance for me to feel like I got a good start on the hike without killing myself the first night out. Even though it's a bit heavy compared to my Khufu, I decided to bring the X-Mid 2 on this trip, partly to get more trail experience with it prior to doing a review, but also because I knew the extra space would be more comfortable, especially if I got hit with one of the kind of severe, sudden storms that the winds are famous for. That little guy in the background turned out to be a lost dog named Dill Pickle, whose owner was camped about a quarter-mile away at the next lake. And I know this because the owner found him and told the story to my friends who passed this way 2 days later. Good morning. Well, one thing I can say about the Wind Rivers is there certainly is a huge temperature range that happens from day to night here. It was 37 degrees when I woke up, and I'm all packed up and ready to go, and it's 72 already. Eklund Lake is beautiful, and there's tons of campsites around here, which I guess I didn't need to worry so much about whether there would be a spot for me, because there's a spot for everybody. And there's only one other person here that I can detect, so not really a problem. And looking forward to getting up into Titcomb Basin today, finally, after 4 years of feeling bad about skipping it the last time I came through here. friends I mentioned earlier are my occasional hiking buddies, Chris and Alex, who were on a separate adventure of their own in the winds, but our paths crossed with perfect timing so that we enjoyed spending one night camped together with an incredible view, and we got to share the joy of exploring the jaw-dropping scenery of Titcomb Basin. I would backtrack a bit, then turn north on a different trail that I hoped would take me out of the main stream of hikers, which it did. When I woke up this morning, it was stormy looking and a little smoky too. So I got breakfast done pretty quickly and then just started packing up, and it started to sprinkle, so I packed up frantically, said my goodbyes to Chris and Alex because we're back to solo hiking again, going different directions. Thankfully though, it cleared up almost. There's high overcast and it's a beautiful day, although significantly cooler than yesterday. It's 10 o'clock now and only about 61 degrees and a bit of a breeze blowing, which you probably can hear. So off to a good start, and looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. Let's go. The weather did improve for a while, but later it would take a turn for the worse at just the worst time. This is Fremont Crossing, which I can't believe I'm here already. And there's a side trip that I wanted to take that is to a feature called the Big Water Slide that's on every map, so it must be impressive, but there doesn't seem to be a trail to get there. So just before I head down to the bridge across Fremont, I'm gonna do some cross-country stuff and see how that goes, see if I can find that water slide. Well, that didn't work too good. After an initial promising start, I got cliffed out. And you know, you could scramble around, but it made me wonder if maybe there's an easier way to go on the other side of Fremont Creek. So I'm gonna go down, cross the bridge, and see if there isn't an easier way to go on the other side of the creek. See this bridge right there, and you just want to head straight off at a right angle just around through those trees, and then you'll see the cairns. And the cairns are useful to lead you up around that high spot and through this little boggy area. Once I got off the slick rock, there seems to be an actual unmaintained trail here. Hoping it continues all the way around. I can hear something like a falls over there. So just to wrap up and put this in context, you can see the bridge across Fremont Creek there, and the big water slide is just right there. So not too bad. It took me about an hour to hike over and take lots of pictures and get back. Back on the main trail, I started the 800-foot climb up to the high point of this loop, an unnamed pass above the Jean Lakes. You have to marvel at the folks who built these trails originally. Just imagine how miserable it would have been to travel through this terrain without a trail. One of the things that makes the Wind River Range so fun to hike through is the proliferation of beautiful lakes. Lower Jean is just over there, and you got this beautiful lake with a fantastic view. But wait, there's also that one and another beyond that. After a while, you almost get cathedral burnout. Ho hum, another beautiful lake. My original plan was to take a side trip up Shannon Pass just to see the view, then come back and camp by Elbow Lake. But just when I arrived at the trail junction, the weather turned really bad. I just got a couple minutes up that trail to Shannon Pass, and I'm hearing thunder about every minute, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to pass on Shannon Pass. I turned back towards Elbow Lake, but in a few minutes it was raining hard and even hailing on me. Normally I would hunker down in a tree well and wait it out, but there were no trees around, so I snuggled up against a small cliff face instead for the worst of it, then with the rain gear on, got back on the trail. By the time I reached the other side of Elbow Lake, the sun came back out and the rain was gone. Unfortunately, the wind wasn't, so I decided to keep hiking. Since I saved the time set aside for Shannon Pass, it was too early to camp, and Elbow Lake had become a wind tunnel anyway. There were several good lakes to camp by between Elbow and Summit Lakes, but I wanted to push on past Summit in order to be positioned close enough to hike out the next day. I would make it to Borum Lake at 7 o'clock, although it took another half an hour trying to find a legal campsite. After discarding several awesome options right on the water, I finally decided on this spot, only to discover after setting up that it was right next to the tiny, nearly silent outlet stream. Too tired to consider moving, I gave up and hit the sack. One of the challenges of hiking in the winds is obeying the rule of no camping within 200 feet of standing water, 100 feet from moving water, and 100 feet off the trail. It's a good rule in theory, but some places like this have sloping hills down to the lake edge and very limited flat places.
Well, good morning. It's a cold morning. I got down to about 32 degrees last night. And I'm up early and hiking in the cold. Gonna have my sleeping gear on for a little while till I warm up. Just because I wanted to get a good start on the day. It's a little before 8. I could have got up earlier, but it was dark when my alarm went off. And I was feeling kind of beat up after yesterday. It's only 15 miles that I did, but I swear 15 miles in the winds is like 20 miles anywhere else because of the very rocky trails and everything being up and down, so the elevation really adds up quick, even though it doesn't seem to, and being at elevation matters also. A little smoky this morning, but looks clear otherwise, so hopefully the smoke will lift as the day progresses. Looks like we're back into that major wind event that hit over by Elkhart. Thank God for the trail crews.
Just as I entered this clearing, I spotted a cow moose at the other end and hurried to get closer. Then it occurred to me she might not appreciate being chased down, and I really had no good escape options surrounded by these huge fallen logs if she decided to turn around and chase me instead. We played this game of her trotting just out of sight down the winding trail and me hiking slowly up to peek around the corner to see if she was still there. Eventually, she got tired of it and left the trail, so I could just squeeze on by right when I got to the turnoff to Glimpse Lake.
Just catching a glimpse of Glimpse Lake. This is the part of the trip that I've been most stressing about. Heading down this steep, unmaintained trail. When I talked to the ranger at Pinedale, she told me that it hadn't been maintained in 7 or 8 years and was pretty much impassable. But then I communicated with a fellow YouTuber who had just done the trip. So smoky. It's Long Lake on the right. And he said there's some blowdown and faint trail in places, but not really a big deal. So I'm gonna believe my fellow YouTuber and give it a try. Hope for the best. Well, there's Fremont Lake in the distance. You can just barely see through the smoke. And Elkhart Park's over there somewhere. And that's Pine Creek. I just got to get down to that. And there's still a bridge across Pine Creek. So when I hit that bridge, I know that I'll be home free. So far, so good. It's a pretty clear trail, and there is some maintenance, looks like. Not too old. Seems to me I'm seeing signs of fresh maintenance, so somebody's been working on this trail. If not the Forest Service, maybe some private group. Hey, there it is. I made it. Well, I got that done, and there were practically no blowdowns. I was so worried about that. I was afraid I was going to get halfway down the mountain and lose the trail and have to bushwhack the rest of the way. But it was a very clear and distinct trail, easy to follow. Really, there was some brush and branches encroaching a little bit in places, but I've certainly traveled trails that were in much worse shape, that were considered well maintained. So score 1 for YouTube buddies over the Forest Service. I'm sorry, but I have to say that he was exactly right.
what my YouTube friends said, that that was a very doable trail. Although I'm glad I was doing it downhill instead of uphill. That would be a very steep 2,000 feet climbing up. And there was a little bit of a sketchy area in the middle with some short switchbacks that there was just dirt, side hill, kind of steep, and so you really want to slow down and step carefully across there. You probably wouldn't want to do it if you were afraid of heights, but generally speaking, someone has cleared away all of the difficult blowdown and no real problem at all doing that trail. So stress-free, except now I have to climb 1,500 feet back up to Elkhart Park, but I got lots of time to get there. That ridge up there is where I just came from. Looks like a long ways away. Well, I do believe I've made it to Long Lake. This one looks pretty cool. There's quite a bit extensive camping sites. Well, at 1,800 feet elevation gain in about 3 miles, I'm gonna call this officially in the category of a very strenuous trail. Add to that the elevation of 9,000 feet at the end, and the smoke that's in the air. That was quite a slog. In fact, I even left my tripod back at the last shot that I took, which makes me a little sad, but I have been eyeing a new tripod, so maybe that's the universe telling me something. Anyway, the whole trip was 45 miles in 3.5 days. Feeling pretty good about that. It was pretty stupendous, epic scenery. So thanks for coming along. Really appreciate you subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.